And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Breakdown After Dark. I'm your host, Casey Smith, joined as always by my two co-hosts, Aidan Dobell and Keenan Vaughn. Today we got a lot to go over. March Madness was, I think, pretty awesome. I had a great time. And we had a lot of different sports happening over the past weekend. We have some NFL free agency to talk about, some NFL flag football that happened this past week, among other things. But before any of that, how are you guys doing today, Keenan and Aiden?
I'm doing pretty good. It feels weird to not have any basketball to be able to watch after just indulging myself 12 hours a day into basketball. But it is good to have a little bit of a break, reflect on the games that did happen, and look ahead to the Sweet 16.
I'm not gonna lie, this was a fabulous weekend for me. That got to watch March Madness, got to blast music as loud as I wanted in the apartment with it all to myself, and I
Yeah,
watched Project. I watched Project Hail Mary on the biggest IMAX screen in Arizona.
yeah. There's a real like IMAX screen in Tempe, right?
Oh yeah,
How was how
I
was
watched it in 70 millimeter.
how was the movie? I've been thinking about seeing it.
It was great. I don't know if it's as life changing as everyone's making it out to be, but it is a great time. One of the most beautiful and heartfelt movies I've watched in a long time.
In terms of like other
Good to
sci-fi
know.
movies, like where would you put it up with? Like the Dunes, the Interstellars, the Star Wars. Those are all kind of different, you know, tones, obviously. But if you could give me a bit of a reference.
The one that I would reference it to, and which is ironic because they're both books made by the same guy, but The Martian I think is the
The
obvious
Martian, yeah.
comparison.
Hmm.
I loved The Martian. I probably want to go back and watch it now just to kind of compare it to
I've
this
seen it
movie.
all, yeah.
I think Project Hail Mary is better just because it was a little bit more ambitious. And again, the movie is just so like the cinematography was just so beautiful. I mentioned this to my mom now that we're in the age of like when you see videos and you can't tell if they're human made or not, it makes you appreciate stuff that is beautiful but made by real human beings.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's good. Yeah, I love sci-fi, so I'm definitely planning on checking it out soon. But outside of that, me and Maddie are actually gonna be my girlfriend watching a movie tomorrow here. Um, and I was telling Aiden about it. We're watching a double feature, a horror movie. What do you think she picked out? She said she wants us to watch these two. They're the only two in the series. It's one and two movies, and I'll give you a hint. They're pre-2000s. It's
Pre
blank
Pre
one and
2000
blank two.
and there's only two
Only
of
two.
them.
There's only two. It's blank one and
Okay.
blank two.
Horror movies,
That's
you said?
Yeah.
that's tough.
I would be pretty
I don't
stunned if you
know.
guys guessed it, but I did want to give you a chance.
I don't know horror movies like that. And
I
I don't
don't
know what would be pre 2000s.
The first thing that popped in my mind was Gremlins. I'm not gonna lie. That's the
Yeah.
only answer I got.
Kind of close. Kind of
Uh,
close. Kind of close. Um,
I really don't know.
Chud 1 and Chud 2. See, the
Uh,
terminology Chud is not
These
a
are real
reason.
movies?
These are real movies. You can look them up. Chud 1 released in 1984. Chud stands
Oh
for
my gosh, bro.
Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dweller. And they're horror movies that came out in 1984. I don't remember the other one. So go look it up if you have a chance. I told Maddie that fun fact because the
Chud
reason,
2, Bud the Chud.
yeah. So we're gonna watch that. I mean, the first one was good enough to warrant a second, clearly. But the reason I even know about that is because of the TED show, which is set like a couple years back. They reference that because like when you think of Chud, I'm like, I don't think I heard anyone say that like a year ago even. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, but yeah, it's a little more older. It's a little older than you might think. So shout out my girlfriend
Where
for
where did she find this? Like, where do you find
because
this movie at?
I mentioned that it existed because of the TED show. Because in
Oh, okay.
Ted the show, which I don't, do you know what I'm talking about? The what like the stuffed bear?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know it. I
the
know what you're
stuffed, yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah. And one of the scenes they reference, someone calls like he calls someone a chud, and they're like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller," and
There,
it's fitting
there you
because
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
that movie. So I'll let you guys know. I mean, maybe it's on the level of Project Hail Mary. We'll see. I don't have my hopes up.
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well. But outside of that, Keenan, you did have the apartment to yourself this past week because I was cat sitting. That was sweet. You know what I mean? It was cool. I'm not. I had dogs growing up a whole lot, so not really used to. Cats are a little different. You know what I mean? Like it's in good ways and bad. She did terrorize me a lot at night. Like what would wake me up at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. just scratching on the bed. Not ideal. But the thing about a cat is that it doesn't let you pet it all the time. So then when it does come up and like snuggle with you, it means a little more. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of got it. You know, I always used to be like, I don't really get it. It kind of hit me a little more. So I understand
Okay.
why people have cats now a bit more. And Aiden, what were you doing? How come you weren't at the apartment while Keenan was here?
I was in LA. Saw my dad for his birthday. Had some nice dinners. Yeah, it was a nice little weekend.
Yeah. Um, Anything else you want to talk about before we hop into our rundown of sports? No. All right, let's
Not
get
really,
to it.
no. I think we're
Well,
good.
in case you've been living under a rock, we had March Madness this past week, and I thought it was pretty good. You know, there's some concerns about, um, you didn't have tournament teams, you didn't have as many upsets as you'd want. Only four double-digit seeds made it out of the first round. You really didn't have like a true Cinderella. I mean, Iowa and Texas both made it to the Sweet 16, but like those are still power schools. But outside of that, I thought it was a good time. Before we even get into the tournament, I wanted to talk about some of the new hires. In particular, ASU just brought in someone new.
They sure did. This I think there was a lot of speculation that this was going to happen for a while. They brought in Randy Bennett of St. Mary's. He's been there. God, what has he been there? Like 20, almost 30 years.
I think I think since 2001, so like yeah, 25 years.
That is crazy. I'll say I like this hire. I don't want to say that I love it for now because I do have a couple of concerns. The main thing is that I love about Randy Bennett and why I like this hire for the most part is he's super consistent. He consistently got to the Gales to the tournament. And for how low the bar is for the ASU men's basketball program right now, that means a lot. If they can just be in the 7 to 10 seed range like he had the Gales, that would be huge for the Sun Devils. Um, and he's also a great floor raiser. He's a great culture guy. And it's exactly what ASU needs after these last few years of chaos in the fading Hurley years. My main concern is I don't know how his offense is going to translate to the Big 12. The Big 12 is filled with teams that are high powered on both ends. And while St. Mary's is very efficient on defense, they're great at the free throw line. I don't know how that's going to work, how Bennett's system is going to work with the Sun Devils. Can't wait to see what he does with a bigger budget and more resources. Like the hire. Curious to see how it pans though.
Yeah, I think it's cool. He's from Mesa. I did not know that before. And yeah, I think you St. Mary's hasn't really made it to the second weekend a whole bunch, but they've made it to the tournament a lot. They've won some tournament games. And they've been fun in the regular season. And I think if you can get to that point and then you can start complaining about, they're not making it till the Elite Eight or whatever, that's kind of like a privilege that ASU just doesn't have at this point. I mean, under Bobby Hurley, they made it to the tournament 3 times in 11 years. So, get to that point and then you can worry about making that next step later. You have to be good before you can be great. So I think it's solid. I'll be interested to see how he does. I'll be interested to see how much he changes up the strategy because I like that there are good defensive teams, usually St. Mary's, and good shooting teams, but whenever they play a team that has like real pace, they get waxed like we saw with Texas A&M. So maybe with ASU and a little more money, he can afford to get like better athletes, quite frankly. But we'll see. Outside of that, what other hires did we have around, Keenan?
I know that we had the other big one is that Cincinnati fired Wes Miller a couple of years ago, and to replace him, they went back to the Utah State well. It's crazy how often that Utah State has their coaches poached in like 2 years. They hired Jared Calhoun, Really, really like this hire for the Bearcats. What they have needed is just a total reset of the program. They just have not been able to reach the highs of where they were with Mick Cronin back in the mid to late 2010s. And I really love what Calhoun did at Utah State. Won the tournament this year with them, the Mountain West tournament. Won them a game in the first round. Kept it somewhat competitive with Arizona. And I'm really excited to see how his work translates to Cincinnati. That just makes the Big 12 even better.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of nuts how often Cincinnati just loses their coach. And it is I guess, a credit to their athletic director or whoever their player development is that, um, like you said, every 2 to 3 years their coach is getting poached to another big time job. I love the hire for Cincinnati because, like, they felt like a team that towards the end of the year was starting to hit their stride a little bit. It was just too little, too late. They had dug themselves too deep of a hole early in the season to really have a chance at being a tournament team. So, um, I know he is a Cincinnati alum, so maybe that brings some aspect to it. He's familiar with the school. I'm curious to see how he'll be able to recruit and just, yeah, make the Big 12, which I look at as the best basketball conference, just make it even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing, if you're a coach looking to get a job, if you go to Utah State, you're almost guaranteed to go somewhere else pretty soon. I mean, yeah, they've had, this is going to be the fourth year in a row that they're going to have a new coach. That's absolutely insane. And then before that, they had a new one just 3 seasons before. So a lot of turnover at Utah State, but they've still been so good as of recent. So it's a great program. The guys kind of stick around. Like Mason Falslev has been there for a long time through all the turmoil. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're good again next year in the new Pac-12. Very, very, very solid squad. But did we have any other coaching things we wanted to talk about, or?
I think
Um,
the only other one would be Jerry McNamara getting hired at Syracuse. He was the Siena head coach, if I'm not mistaken.
mhm.
And obviously, I think that's something we'll talk about later, but um, he did a pretty good job with Siena. And Syracuse is a program that I'm hoping that this will be the move that they need to get back to at least being competent enough to make the NCAA tournament. Um, they were a program that went from being a perennial NCAA tournament contender to not even making the dance. That's just not acceptable for their standard. And hopefully, this is a move that can get them back there.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, like you think of them as such a rich basketball school and such a rich history. But in recent years, they've been really poor. And like you're in the heart of New York. You would you would think that you're going to be able to build pretty good teams and recruit well. Like obviously they got Kyan Anthony, who is the number one player in the state of New York coming out of high school. So the recruiting grounds are there. You just need the coach that's able to find those guys and convince those guys to want to stay in state.
Yeah, but if that's everything we got about the coaching carousel, we can get into what everyone's really here for, which is March Madness. And I say we just go through. I listed a bunch of games that I want to talk about. We'll talk about them. And then at the end, we can wrap up on some general thoughts about, Sweet 16, Elite 8 moving forward, and just our overall thoughts on the state of college basketball. We're going to go in chronological order, and we'll start off with the first game, which was a great first game to start off the tournament. 9 seed TCU, 8 seed OSU, both teams that are really hot. It was a really hard matchup to pick. I picked TCU. They came out on top 66-64. Great game. I mean, TCU was up big in this one early, but then, Ohio State fought back. Not a great game from Bruce Thornton overall, but there was a lot of other guys on this OSU team that were able to make it close.
Yeah, fantastic start to the tournament. This is exactly what you're hoping for from an 8-9 matchup. I was really disappointed to see Bruce Thornton's college career come to an end like this. There's a reason why I picked Ohio State. Like you said, Casey, it was a true 50-50 matchup. But I picked Ohio State because I thought Bruce Thornton could be that X factor that wins this game and makes things interesting going into the round of 32. He just didn't have it. But credit to TCU, their trio of Edmonds, Punch, and Robinson showed up big time. especially David Punch. He had 16 points on 6 of 12 shooting. He played a huge role. And Jamie Dixon, I figured that could have been the deciding factor in this game. Is Jamie Dixon just knows what he's doing. He's a experienced coach. He's won in the tournament before, and not surprised at all that TCU ended up on top in this one.
Yeah, I picked Ohio State, but like you said, yeah, it was a pure 50-50. It was really tough seeing Bruce Thornton struggle. Like I mean, he only attempted 9 shots, which I feel like for a player that is as good as he is, I'm not saying like I want you going out there shooting 30, but you gotta empty the clip a little bit. You gotta understand that like your team needs you to try to will them to a win. But from what I saw, he was really just struggling um, to find his shots in this game, kind of find where where he fit into the offense. Really, really tough. That I think this was his first taste of tournament of being in the tournament, and just didn't have a great game to show for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool how the first game was like an 8-9. Like, you don't start off the
Yeah,
tournament with like some easy
a
116 matchup. Like,
116.
we're gonna start off with cutting basically the perfect brackets in half, which was cool. Like the first couple games were like a lot of 50-50 type games. As we get into the next one of the day, which was Nebraska Troy, 4 seed, 13 seed. A lot of people were on the Troy train, but it got shut down pretty early, 76-47. I was on the Troy train. I mean, Nebraska was just way too much. First of all, I didn't really realize this was going to be a home game. Like, the Nebraska crowd was there, and they were absolutely loud. Price Sandfort was, I mean, nuts. And Troy just, like, never got it going. I mean, they were a team that shoots a lot of threes. They didn't shoot that well from three. They didn't even really put up that many threes. Their offense looked dreadful. They got absolutely just manhandled by Nebraska's pressure.
If my memory serves me correctly, I remember the night before the tournament started. I remember having a discussion in the kitchen about someone being on the Troy bandwagon, switching right before the morning game started. This one was just really disappointing, and you'll see a common theme in a lot of these like Cinderella slash mid majors in this tournament. A lot of them base their offense on if the 3 point shot isn't falling, we're going to struggle to score points, and that's exactly what happened here. They were kind of chucking them up. Like you look at a guy like Thomas Dowd, he went 0 for 6 from three, 1 of 11 from the field. They were just completely inefficient. And other than that, I don't know who decided to leave Price Sanford open from three, but he was just banking it in every single time. 7 of 12 from three, 23 points, and I'm sure the Nebraska crowd helped. But this was just a brutal performance from the Trojans at the worst possible moment.
Dude, he got way too many just like wide open looks. Like he was left unmarked and given a clean shot far too much by this Troy defense.
I mean, yeah, I was on Nebraska until the night before when one Mr. Smith, with all his propaganda,
Oh, okay.
convinced me to switch over to Troy, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I will go with Troy. They seem like a fun squad. I was stunned watching this game. Like I knew in order for Troy to win this game, they would have had to shoot really well, and it became it became very apparent early on that this was just not going to be the game for Troy. They were turning the ball over a ton. They weren't shooting well, and I mean, it felt like we were in Lincoln, Nebraska with that game. Like just the way that the crowd was so loud and so into it. Like every shot that Nebraska made, like every Sanford three, felt just magnified so much more because of how electric that crowd was.
Yeah, it was an unreal environment. It felt like, it was the Cornhuskers' home court advantage pretty much. Um, but we didn't get the mid-major upset with Troy, but we did get it with High Point, a game that came just about right after. High Point beating Wisconsin 83-82, a 12 over 5 upset. And I mean, this was a very close one for High Point. They led for only a couple of seconds all game long, and they took down a pretty hot Wisconsin team, a team that a lot of people were high on.
Yeah, Aiden and I were going crazy during this game. Aiden, I know you were hoping Wisconsin would prevail because it would be helpful to your bracket. This game was just absolutely insane. I know everyone is talking about what Chase Johnston did in this game, and dude, he was just killing it from three. I pointed out to Aiden that 1 3 he shot by the March Madness logo was crazy. It was a crazy shot at the time, and looking back now, it was a big part as to why they won this game. But shout out to Terry Anderson, and of course Rob Martin. He was incredible this tournament. This High Point team just they played a very exciting brand of basketball, and I kind of figured in the back of my head. I don't know if I mentioned it on our show before the tournament started. Greg Gard with Wisconsin is so prone to early tournament exits, and I kind of had that feeling in the bottom of my stomach. I thought they'd still make it to the round of 32, but this just kind of fits into the narrative of Wisconsin under Gard is just not getting it done in the biggest moments.
Yeah, I had Wisconsin losing in the second round, so it would have been a little helpful for the bracket, but like I got to a certain point where I was like, you know what, if Wisconsin loses, Wisconsin loses. Like, let me see a big upset. Yeah, I mean, I didn't buy into the High Point hype. A lot of people were hyping this up to be the upset. I just felt like Wisconsin was too good. Um, Too hot. Like I felt like a big part of it too was that these two teams both play similarly, where they shoot a lot of threes, but Wisconsin just does it better and has more talent. That was kind of my thought process, but it was cool to see a real upset like this, and that the Chase Johnson three that he shot it was like 35 feet out with 26 seconds on the shot clock, pull
Dude,
up in transition and just laced it. It was a ridiculous shot to even like think of attempting, and the fact that he hit it. Um, I want to say when he shot that, I want to say they were down like five or maybe seven. So it was, if you miss that, like you're getting blown up. That's just not a good shot to take. But it was just a huge like momentum shift.
it was the same thing as the Denzel Valentine shot, but it went in. It
Yeah,
was, it was you fought to get back in the game. You took a damn near half court shot with the full shot clock, but he actually laced it. It was crazy. One of the craziest shots of the tournament for sure. I mean, Nick Boyd played pretty good in this one, and 27 and 6, and down the stretch, their last two possessions were him having the ball, missed both shots. One of them he missed, one of them he got blocked. So, Wisconsin got the looks they wanted, and with a player that was super hot, their best player all year long, he just didn't, ball didn't roll the right way, and I'm sure in the game plan they weren't expecting Chase Johnston to leak out for a fast break layup, considering he literally never hit a two. So crazy things happen in March, and this was certainly one of them. And right after that, we almost had an even crazier thing happen. Siena was up on Duke for a good chunk of this game. They were up double digits at halftime, as much as 13, and eventually Duke would win 71-65. But for a second there, I was really thinking we could see a 16 over a 1.
Man, I was thinking, I told Aiden, I was like, I understand Siena has a double digit lead at halftime. Just wait. Duke is going to come back and they're going to blow Siena out. And then we got to the halfway point of the second half, and I was like, oh no, this is for real a struggle for Duke. This was just embarrassing for the Blue Devils. I understand that they eventually pulled it out, but when you win by 6 in your 1 versus 16 matchup, that does not give confidence in a deep run at all. It's crazy to say that maybe the player of the game was Caden Boozer. He was killing it from the field, 9 of 16. And you have to wonder, could have Siena possibly pulled this out if they just thought about going to their bench, played their starters for a majority of the game? They didn't go all the way, but they still made no substitutions for majority of the contest. And you could kind of tell they just ran out of gas at the end. We were so close to one of the greatest upsets of all time. and it's kind of left me feeling empty. I wouldn't have complained the rest of the tournament if Siena pulled this one out.
Let's see a little bit of the context. So they basically played their guys the whole game. I mean, we can say it. They made a sub with like 11 seconds left. So the context is that they only have 7 players on scholarship, the 5 starters, and then there are 2 guys on the bench who both shoot under 35% from the field on the year. So for context, their bench is terrible. Their bench players suck. And, maybe you can say, well, you got to at least sub them in for like 5 minutes, give the guys rest. But I kind of get it, man. Like, you put your best guys out there. You say, hey, man, just I'm sure you're adrenalined up. Like, we can't afford to not have you guys on the court. The skill gap is already big enough. I kind of get it. But also it's like, yeah, I mean, they totally, you can easily see the difference in their energy and effort level in the second half. Like, they were just out of gas. They were short on like every single shot. They were missing a lot more in the second half. Both teams shot terribly. Siena went 38% from the field. Duke shot 19% from 3. Truly a terrible shooting night for Duke. They were lucky to survive.
Yeah, I mean, and they I know they dominated against TCU, but they kind of struggled to shoot the 3 in that game as well. They were 7 of 21, so maybe that ends up being a trend for this Duke team going forward, just like winning games by just being a better defensive team and kind of dominating inside. But if the 3-point shooting doesn't come around soon for this Duke team, I'd be really concerned about them competing for a national title. I mean, they're going to have to get past St. John's, who's been playing really, really well in this tournament. So I do agree with Siena. Like, when you're outmatched that much, you might as well play your best 5 guys and say, we're going to ride out with these guys, whether they pass out on the court or not. Like, these are our 5 guys. And they really almost got it done, but it was clear that they just did not have the gas that last like 5-6 minutes of the game.
Yeah. Well, this next one we're going to talk about was personally my favorite game of the entire tournament. VCU UNC. Overtime win for the Rams, 82-78. One of the biggest tournament comebacks I've ever seen. Came back from down 19 in the second half, like 5 minutes into the second half. Just an awesome upset for the Rams. To close it, they had two huge shots from Terrence Hill. He had a step back 3, and he hit that layup. And then in OT, like, neither team could make anything, but eventually VCU was able to get a few, and then UNC, Vasar goes to the line. He misses the first one. Second one, he tries to intentionally miss, but throws it off the backboard. They had some 5-second calls. I mean, they truly just like crumbled down the stretch.
I do not exaggerate when I say this is one of the best March Madness games I've ever watched in my entire life. This was just a thriller at the end. It looked like VCU was going to be another victim of a blowout game early on, but what an amazing comeback by the Rams. Terrence Hill Jr., that 3 he had that basically won them the game, one of the most electric moments I can remember in a long time. We were going crazy in the apartment. That 5-second violation, and Hubert Davis had a timeout at his disposal. That is unacceptable for both the players and the coach. I don't understand how you have a timeout at your disposal and you don't use it. Now, I do understand you don't have Caleb Wilson, and he's a player that does make a difference like this. Who knows where they could have gone if he was still healthy. So I don't know if I would outright say I think Hubert Davis needs to be fired tomorrow, but he definitely needs to be on the hot seat. I'm not seeing his coaching being enough. He's not having his team step up in the NCAA tournament since they went on that run to the national championship game. Love the win for the Rams. Really concerned for North Carolina going forward.
Yeah, I mean, collapsing the way that they did, where they were having like turnovers, they were getting beat defensively. Like the 5-second call was bad. The fact that they, like you said, the fact that they had a timeout and just didn't use it, watched them turn the ball over. I did see something that Hubert Davis was like in talks with whoever, like the athletic director or whatever higher ups at North Carolina, about his future. So whenever you have that, that's never a good sign. I don't know what the rest of his contract looks like, but it feels like regardless, next year might be a big year, kind of a prove it year where you got to at least get past the first round. Dare I say, maybe even into the Sweet 16, for them to like really consider Hubert Davis like safe and off the hot seat, because the performance he just put on coaching wise, is just not acceptable for any team, let alone a team with the standards that North Carolina has.
Yeah, man. I mean, ever since the second half started in the national championship against Kansas, it's been downhill for North Carolina. Things have only gotten worse. Um, yeah, I don't think you're crazy to say that this is one of the best games. This was my favorite game of this tournament. One of my favorite games almost of any tournament. Like, I picked VCU as well, so I'm sure that certainly had something
Yeah,
to do with it. But they were just playing a fun brand of basketball. It was a close game. There was so much like random stuff that happened at the end. Like North Carolina had so many ways that they choked it, and that was incredibly entertaining to watch. Let's get into our last game to cover of day one. Still not even done with day one yet. Texas beats BYU, another 11v6. Keenan, I'm sure you got a lot to say about this one.
I want to say that I'm truly shocked by this result, but I'm not. It's more on BYU's part. I just did not like the way that they were playing at the end of the season. Ever since Richie Saunders went down, they just didn't look the same. And I was just really impressed with how Texas stepped up in this one. They finally got their star players to produce at a high rate, something they've struggled with all season long. Vogatitis was just going ham on BYU in this game. 23 points, 16 rebounds, 10 of 17 shooting. And then when you have Mark and Swain, Pope chipped in with 11 points. When this Texas lineup is producing at a high level, they are genuinely a really solid team. And this just kind of feels like a wasted season for BYU. AJ DeBonta, I don't want to I have to mention what he did because I was watching his performance. He was incredible. He was hitting almost everything, 35 points. And it truly felt like no one else around him stepped up.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, pretty much every single March, people bring up the idea that what if an NBA player was like on a 16 seed or was on some sort of tournament team and they like went to make a run. AJ DeBanza is basically that. We basically saw that with him. Like, I know it's not exactly the same because he's still, at the end of the day, a freshman in college. Like, he's not a fully formed NBA player. But, man, he could have come out of high school. Like, this dude is incredible. The stuff he was pulling off in this game, he is scoring at an NBA level. He has NBA level athleticism. Like, I think from the moment he comes in the league, he's already going to be one of the most athletic players. And he went crazy in this Texas game. I mean, as you said, Keenan, 35, 10, no stocks, which has kind of been a theme for him this year. But he played efficient, good ball, and perfect from the free throw line. And it didn't matter. And it wasn't even like he was on a 16 seed. Like, he was on 6 seed BYU, which still was without Richie Saunders, but was also playing 18 and 14, first four Texas. So I think that while it would be a cool idea that, a cat or whatever goes on a 16 seeds and makes a run, I think unfortunately basketball just is too much of a team sport at the end of the day. I don't know. Am I wrong on that?
No, I agree. I will say NBA players obviously are significantly better than college players, and I saw a clip of someone asking Alex Caruso this question, and he said that there might be like 40 NBA players that could do it. I
I don't
don't
know about
see it.
that.
I don't see it
don't
after.
agree.
I don't see it after
Do
after
it
this
by what?
performance.
Be on a 16 seed and win a championship?
No,
I
there's,
think
there's
I
just no
think that
way.
was the question.
You're one person.
You're
Yeah,
one
I
person.
and like the argument would be like college, the big men would be probably the biggest like big men like an Alperen Şengün would be
He would eat.
ridiculous. Like he would just eat on teams like good passing big. good inside, can shoot it a little bit, but like I
What would
just don't see it. I mean,
what would Wemby
AJ
do
DeBenza,
on a 60?
oh,
He would be one of the best
he would
because
he would have 50, 30, and 10 blocks, and they would still lose the game.
they would go on a bit. Winning a national championship would be hard, but I mean they would be like a they'd be one of the better teams. Like if Siena just added Wemby, they certainly would have beat Duke. I mean,
Yeah, I mean they'd be a better team.
they'd be a lot better, but I don't know. I mean, there's only so much a guy can do at the end of the day, even if he plays all 40 minutes. But Wemby
Yeah.
is he's gonna be your defense. So you just gotta hope that if they double, you can have a couple guys who can hit a wide open three. I guess. Wemby would be my pick if I had to pick either Wemby or maybe like low key. If we're not going for like the best, because maybe you're gonna go like Luka or Shea. I might go like DeMar, like just unlimited mid range.
Just a player who can just score just go yeah, like I'm trying to think like
DeMar
it
would
would,
be
it would,
good. I
it
think
would-
Sengun was a good shout. Jokic would be obviously great. You're looking for a
yeah.
guy who can either do everything on offense or everything on defense, and hopefully a little of both, which is why Wemby would be so good. And DeMar with like the mid range mattering a bit more in college would help.
What about like an Amin Thompson? Just be
I don't think that
so
matters.
much just be so much more athletic than everybody else on the
No,
court, but
because
like
he can't
he
carry a
just
team on
can't
offense.
he can't really shoot, which is
Maybe like
a
Trae
big
Young.
issue.
Trae Young, because
Oh.
you can like he doesn't
I
have the
mean,
defensive.
Trae Young in college averaged like
He was awesome.
33 points a game. So
He was
And
awesome.
and Oklahoma was not very good when he was there.
Yeah, but he's better now. He's better now, obviously. So I don't know.
that's the argument is like NBA players are so much better after just like a couple years than they were in college. So maybe we look at AJ DeBanson in like 3 or 4 years and say like maybe, but I don't know how you can say this when he had 35 and like the rest of his team just did not step up at all.
Dude, the performance. I mean, Robert Wright put up 14, but he was pretty inefficient, and like everyone else just stunk it up, man.
Everyone
It was-
else outside of him was really inefficient.
Yeah, it was bad. But that was the end of day one. So let's get into day two, and this was another electric game. Kentucky Santa Clara. Maybe you've seen my reaction to this one. I was at PHNX in the office watching this one while I was going on. 89-84, Kentucky wins in overtime against Santa Clara. And the reason it even went to overtime is because first Santa Clara hit a three with like 3 seconds left, and then Otega Owe goes down and hits, basically a half-court shot. He doesn't just hit it; he banks it in. And I mean, the momentum got zapped from Santa Clara.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So, where I work on Fridays at my internship, I'm at a spot where there's zero sports TVs. So the reaction I saw to this was like my higher ups watching it on their screen and reacting to it. So I didn't catch it live, and I was so upset. My heart hurts for Santa Clara, man. I picked them in my bracket, and it was awesome to see them in the tournament. Really wanted them to pick up a tournament win, and they were so close. That three, that should have sealed it. With that much time left on the clock, that should have sealed it. But Owe is such a beast of a player. 35 points in this game, eight rebounds, 7 assists, 11 of 24 shooting. One of the best players in his conference. I kind of thought this might spark Kentucky a little bit more because this shows what they can be, how talented the lineup still is. And this is what kind of makes me think when I know a lot of people were complaining about this year's tournament. I saw a lot of people claiming that there weren't a lot of great iconic moments in this tournament. I was like, did you not watch the Santa Clara Kentucky game? This is what March Madness is about.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I wanted Santa Clara to win this one so bad.
I agree, man.
Like I picked them. I felt like they played a great game. They fought to get back in it. They hit that three at the end, and then, I mean, their coach was racing up the sideline trying to get a timeout called. Ref doesn't see it. Kentucky gets the ball in quick, and then hits a shot from like 40 feet out, basically. Just brutal. It was a great game to watch. I was watching this game with my brother, and me and him were going nuts. Um, but just so brutal that they hit that three, can't get the timeout. They hit that shot. The second they hit that shot, like it was pretty clear Kentucky was going to win that game in overtime. Like you just saw the life get zapped out of the players and the fans of Santa Clara.
That's why I don't blame coaches so much when they like run on the court and like scream for a timeout. Like you got to make sure that timeout gets called because if they get a timeout there, they're able to set their defense. They probably win that game. Instead, chaos and it hits the three. Just rough that the ref didn't see it there. But yeah, I really wanted Santa Clara to win. I mean, it was a good WCC year. It was a great year for them. The first time they made a tournament in so long. They played well. It felt like it was a down year for Kentucky when they're usually awesome. And they just didn't get it done, which really sucked. Another mid-major that didn't get it done. They did win their first 4 game, which was awesome for Miami, Ohio. But they lost to Tennessee. Everyone outside of Peter Suter was just terrible in this one. Some terrible 3-point shooting from Miami.
This is unfortunate just because, like, I thought maybe they could ride the wave of that first 4 game, but they were so hot in that game. Like they were just hitting some absurd threes in that game versus SMU that like it made sense that they would probably come back down to earth and not shoot as well. But 7 for 29 from three is really really rough. And like the way that Miami Ohio was going to be able to make a run was going to be all in the back of their 3-point shooting. And unfortunately, they had it for 1 game versus SMU, and it completely disappeared versus Tennessee.
I mean, I think this also is a testament to how talented Tennessee is. I know they had a pretty pedestrian regular season for their standards, but Jacoby Gillespie is a beast. He had 29 points in this game. And it just kind of adds on to the pattern, like I said. For these mid majors, they have to shoot the 3 ball. If the 3 pointers are not falling, they're not going to keep up. And that's what happened in this game. But at the end of the day, I still think Miami of Ohio deserve to be in this tournament. People will debate about whether or not the first 4 is a legitimate tournament win. I still think that they were worthy of their inclusion. I have no regrets about letting them in the tournament this year.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think it's different the outcome versus the resume. If Duke lost to Siena in the first round, I wouldn't all of a sudden say they don't belong. Didn't matter how much they lost by. They won their first 4 game. They got they had to play a pretty tough 6 seed Tennessee that by metrics should be a little bit higher seeded. And they lost on a bad shooting night. I don't feel super torn up over it. It was an awesome season, a one that they'll remember forever. Later on in the day, got Kansas CBU. Now this one, Kansas won 68-60, which seems decently comfortable, but this one got scary for a bit. Kansas was up massive after CBU was just, they had a truly horrific first half. Scored just 18 points, just could not get anything going. But then second half, after Kansas was up by as much as 26, CBU went on an 18-2 run where Kansas just did not hit anything for like 7 whole minutes of game time. Dominique Daniels was going off. He was not able to be guarded after a really rough first half. He ended the day pretty inefficient. But he was getting alive. The crowd was getting into it. It's in San Diego, which is not very far for Cal Baptist. And there was a moment there where, they hit a couple more free throws. They missed some free throws down the stretch on the front end of some 1-and-1s. They missed a couple, 1 of 2 free throws. They missed a couple baby floaters. Like, they totally were right there. They had Kansas on the ropes. It would have been a really cool upset to see personally, but I'm sure Aidan disagrees.
I was just happy that Kansas was able to play somewhat well and get a win, even though they shot pretty atrocious. They shot 40% from the field as a team, which is not very good at all. It was cool to see Darren Peterson have like a very solid game in the tournament, especially just after all the all the noise that has been coming his way like all season, and some of it is warranted, but I think a lot of it is unwarranted and gets kind of blown out of proportion. So it was cool to see him play really well and have a great game. Um, but like Kansas, I still felt kind of disappointed with how this season went with just the amount of talent and the fact that really outside of Darren Peterson, there were not many offensive options for this team kind of all year. Like Melvin Council just has these games where he is unbelievably inefficient, and it really holds back what Kansas can do.
I mean, like, you want to know a big reason why this game was so close? I mean, we talked about it before. The key to Kansas going far in this tournament was the other guys around DP had to step up. And in this game, Badunga, Tiller, and Melvin Council were nowhere to be found. They combined for 16 points. Uh, and I will say, if Dominic Daniels is just a little bit more efficient, if he was a little bit better in the first half, I think they would have put Kansas in some serious trouble. For a little bit more context, Casey, you mentioned how inefficient he was. He finished the game 7 of 23 from the field, 25 points in total. He made 4 3-pointers, so just keep that in mind. So you got to wonder, what if Cal Baptist didn't have one of the worst halves of the tournament of any team? We could have gotten an upset here.
Yeah, I most of those 25 came in the second half. Yeah, he was really like, they just seemed really overwhelmed with Kansas's like skill and physicality in the first half. But once they adjusted in the second, like if this was like a 60-minute game, maybe they would have won. But it was not a 60-minute; it was 40, and Kansas did come out on top. But that brings us into day 3, the second round, and Texas pulled it off again, beat Gonzaga 74-68. I guess I'll let you say what you want again, Keenan.
The one thing I want to say is this Texas team reminds me of last year's Arkansas team. New coach who has a ton of experience under his belt. Not a very impressive regular season or SEC tournament showing at all, which creates a lot of doubt about whether or not they're going to go far in the tournament. And then once they get to the dance, that's when everything starts to clicking into place. Super impressed in this one from Texas. Once again, Voka Titus had a really good game. But Jordan Pope, he can be the key. He's so talented. He's just been so inconsistent all season. And of course, Cam Heide with it, one of my favorite moments of the tournament. I go back and watch it so many times. That clutch corner 3 to seal the win. It feels like everything was just, again, everything went Texas's way for the last 2 games. But man, like Gonzaga is just, they're not beating the choker narrative in March at all. And keep in mind, like, what really hurts me is Graham Ike went out on top. He had a great game in the final game of his collegiate career, 25 points. But where was the rest of the team? Where was the rest of the offense? Like, Texas is not a very good defensive team. They're not. They struggled against some of the bottom feeders in the SEC. And it just didn't feel like Gonzaga could get a bucket when it mattered. I love Mark Few. I love Gonzaga. But this just adds another disappointing layer to their history.
I'm not seeing enough Ace Wolf minutes when I'm looking at this game. I think that's really what held Gonzaga back. Maybe if Adam Miller plays a little bit more, they have a chance.
My boy needs more than 2 points, man. Unacceptable.
But it's pretty clear that this Gonzaga team is just not the same team without Braden Huff. Like, he adds so much to them. Having him and Graham Ike inside, like, they kind of just destroy teams inside with points of the paint and rebounding, and defensively it helps them out a lot too. So not having him really held this Gonzaga team, like, just held them back.
We love Ace Wolf, but I got to be honest, fellas, he's shooting 30% from 3 this year. That's a sharp shooter. And last year for ASU, he shot 40, so that was cool. But 30's not going to cut it, man. When the playoffs come, There's a reason the
Yeah.
minutes are going down. It's not entirely unwarranted. But yeah, rough for Gonzaga. I mean, yeah, I like them. I picked them to go to the Elite Eight. I thought even with the injury, they were still a pretty efficient team. 30-3. Metrics really liked them, and I really liked them from what I saw. And I saw their path as well, and I thought, Texas BYU, the winner of that's not very good at all. Texas has been on a little bit of a run, and we'll talk more about their future matchups once we get a little bit later. But hats off to them; they really surprised me. Then we had an incredible 4-5 matchup: Nebraska Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt comes out on top, or Nebraska comes out on top, 74-72. But Vanderbilt was very close to coming out on top. Tyler Tanner had a 49-foot half-court shot. That, I mean, if you
Was
haven't
halfway
seen,
down.
if you haven't seen
True Gordon Hayward moment.
even closer to going in, quite frankly. I mean, I don't know if a shot can hit more parts of the rim and get closer in the basket without counting for points. Unreal how close that was to going in. And it would have been an instant classic March Madness moment. Still was an instant classic game. Nebraska hits the game-winning two. It was back and forth. Actually, Nebraska did lead through most of this, but it was still like a close game. No team led by more than 10. So, once again, the Nebraska crowd was loud.
This is just another testament to my case. It's like if you are saying like this tournament hasn't been entertaining, are you not entertained by this? This was just an amazing game between two really, really good teams. I picked Vandy here. I did have this matchup in my bracket, but I thought Vandy, with how they were playing in the SEC tournament, with all the momentum and their impressive offense, I thought they would get it done here. Hats off to Nebraska, not only getting their first tournament win in program history, they're advancing to the Sweet 16. And it kind of reminds us how well-rounded they are. I mean, Braden Frager, not only did he hit that game-winning layup at the end, but he had 15 points. Sanford had 15 points. Mast had 13. This is a great Nebraska team. I thought Vanderbilt could go far. I'm a bit disappointed there, but man, I almost jumped up for joy when I saw that shot almost went in for Vanderbilt. I would have gone nuts.
Would have been maybe like it would have been one of the best March Madness moments of all time. I wanted it so bad for Vanderbilt and for Tyler Tanner. Like I like both of these teams. They're cool stories. Nebraska, having gone into the year with never winning a tournament game, and now they're in the Sweet 16. Like that's an awesome story. But if that shot had gone in, we would have been seeing that highlight for like the next couple decades probably. This like I know you said the VCU UNC game was probably the best game in the tournament. This one's right up there with it. Just really good game, competitive, came down to the wire. But unfortunately Tyler Tanner did not get enough. He had a great individual performance, probably needed a little bit more from some of his teammates. Notably Duke Miles, him going 2 for 10 and 1 for 8 from 3 in the game. If he has just a slightly better performance, maybe we're talking about Vanderbilt being in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I think this Kentucky and VCU are all, and High Point are probably all the best like 4 games, like acceptable answers for best game of the tournament, in my opinion, off the top of my head. But moving on to day 4, our last 3 games here, and it was another 5v4, St. John's and Kansas, and Kansas loses in pretty heartbreaking fashion. St. John's drives in, gets a pretty clean look at a layup, really no help defense there, and they'd walk off Kansas by just 2.
Yeah, I mean, this was another. I don't want to say that it was like an amazing game through and through, because it was a game where St. John's had the lead most of the time, and only until late in the game did Kansas tie things up. But what an amazing finish. And we were talking about this before we went live. I don't understand. Like, I loved Bill's self-strategy at the end. Hey, we have fouls. We have fouls to spend. Let's use them. Let's use them. Let's make St. John's work. Let's make them rethink their strategy. You get the clock all the way down to 3.9 seconds. How do you let up that shot? How do you let up that shot to a guy who went 0 for 4 before that point? That's just unacceptable from Kansas and a fitting end to a I'm going to say a very disappointing season for the Jayhawks. I knew what St. John's was capable. They're still a very talented team, but this just feels like an incredibly disappointing result for Bill Self.
Yeah, I think I want to say out of their last like 4 or 5 tournament appearances, they've been out before the Sweet 16 every single time. Like they won that national championship, and then since then it was like first round exit, second round exit, second like first round, second round. So, um, really like yeah, you said it well. Disappointing season for Kansas. Yet again, not making it out of that first weekend. Um, and it was another game where they weren't very efficient. Melvin Council had a better game, but still wasn't great. And I like the strategy at the end of the game, where St. John's started that possession with like 18 seconds left, and you had like 5 fouls to give, and you run it all the way down to 3.9. That can't be the shot that St. John's gets to potentially win the game. A straight life all the way. You need someone to slide over there and force him to have to kick the ball out to a shooter. Like we know St. John's isn't a great 3-point shooting team. It can't be Dylan Darling just going straight downhill all the way to the basket.
I didn't even realize that was Dylan Darling's first bucket of the game.
Yeah, he was 1 of 5 on the game, and that was the one shot he hit.
Yeah, super inefficient from really both teams, and not a good day for Sun Devil efficiency. Joe Sansanin, former Sun Devil efficiency, 1 for 8, former 5-star, hasn't been that great this year, honestly, compared to what I thought he might do. Yeah, he hasn't even really played like that much. He's getting 21 minutes a game. But, a lot of people talk about the madness being maybe a little bit lost. Iowa beat Florida, a 9 seed against a 1, 73-72. Now, Iowa's also, a power school. This is definitely an upset. Let's not sugarcoat it.
I mean, yeah, this is an upset through and through. Like, keep in mind, like, this is the first season for Iowa under new head coach Ben McCollum. What an ending there. I was at Barnes and Noble doing some shopping in Tempe, and I kept seeing, like, I have March Madness, the app notifications on. It kept saying, like, I was in a close one with Florida. They're leading by 12. And I was like, I don't know. I'm still skeptical. I've had a lot of situations where I've thrown on a game at the end and it would just end up being a blowout or the higher seed winning. So I caught the very end of the game where Sturtz got the ball. And keep in mind, this was not a good game for Bennett Sturtz at all. He was 5 of 16, only had 13 points. He found, he went, then he found Alvaro in the corner for the 3. I almost yelled out loud in Barnes and Noble. I was this close. What an upset, man. And very disappointing for the Gators. I think they were kind of clearly like the weakest number 1 seed. I know a lot of people had questions about Michigan, but Florida had a really bad exit in the SEC tournament. And it just kind of feels empty. They had that hot stretch in the regular season that made it look like they were going to be a top contender to repeat as national champions. And they got a lot of good production. Condon, Thomas Howe, and then I know a lot of people are hating on Xavier Lee for passing the ball on that final possession. He was great this game. 17 points, 7 of 11, 3 3-pointers. It wasn't his fault. It's just this Iowa team, man. They stepped up big time, and I would argue that this is the biggest upset of the tournament so far.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't think that's a crazy take. Obviously, seed-wise, High Point beating Wisconsin. Actually, no, not even, because 9-1 is greater than 12-5. So yeah, this would be the biggest upset of the tournament so far.
Yeah, biggest upset. I was pretty surprised. I mean, I thought personally, my bracket prediction, I thought Florida would beat Vanderbilt in the Sweet 16 because I wasn't super sold on them as a 1 seed, but I certainly didn't expect Iowa to take them down. So especially if you told me in a game where Bennett Sturts goes 0 for 9 from 3, I would have been pretty surprised. But last game we got to talk about, UConn UCLA, a pretty popular UCLA team to pick to go deep, despite being a 7 seed. This was the battle of the balds, the battle of the coaches that yell a lot but don't have a lot of hair, Cronin and Hurley, and UCLA came out on top. Keenan, why are you trying not to laugh, bro? I can see you trying not to laugh.
I saw some interesting
I
nicknames for this game.
I agreed with what you said in the first part. It's like, yeah, they're both coaches that complain, but when you mentioned the bald part, I don't know, it just made me laugh. That was a good throw in.
73-57, UConn comes out on top.
I will say, like, I know a lot of people point to, the fact that NIL is hurting these mid-majors because we're seeing these great players go from schools like New Mexico to UCLA. Well, Donovan Dent is a case that it doesn't always succeed like you want it to. I agreed with you, Casey. Like, I thought this UCLA team was getting hot at the right time. They were showing a lot of promise if everyone could come back healthy. And Donovan Dent did play. But, man, he was bad in this UConn game. 11 points, 2 of 9 from the field. I just had such higher hopes for him going from New Mexico to UCLA. He just did not show the same caliber of player that he was as a Lobo. And shout out to Alex Caravan, because when I turned on this game, he was just killing it. He was a big part of the reason why UConn pulled away at the end. Still have doubts about whether or not UConn is truly the powerhouse that they were the last few years. But Hurley knows what he's doing, man. And at the end of the day, I have a lot more faith in Hurley than I do Mick Cronin.
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily coaching lost them the game, but Mick Cronin did have a moment with, I want to say there's like 5 minutes left, maybe 4.5. I think, I want to say UCLA was down 9 and drove inside, didn't get a call, and then Mick Cronin got teed up. And from that point, the game was virtually over. Like, it was just such a momentum just killer for UCLA. Put UConn up 11. They got the ball. I think they scored again and went up 13, which was like their biggest lead of the game, and they were able to hold on to that lead for the rest of it. I don't really like either one of these coaches. I really don't like Mick Cronin, especially just with how he handles some of his interviews. But I still felt that this UCLA team would have won this game, and I had them making a deep run. But unfortunately, they were no match for Dan Hurley.
Yeah, as a media member myself, I'm not a big fan of coaches not being so nice to media. But no, Dent has always been not the most efficient player, but this season at times it's been rough. I mean, he's had good passing all year long. His assist to turnover ratio has been magical. But he misses a lot of shots, and it's rough. And they also didn't have Tyler Bilodeau, which we weren't certain of. I thought he was going to play in at least some capacity, but he didn't play in either round 1 or round 2 game, which was tough for the Bruins. But, yeah, I'll be interested to see how UConn does, going forward. I thought they were a team I was kind of out on, just as like a true powerhouse in comparison to how they've normally done. But they've handled business, and I guess we'll just see. But that wraps up all the specific games we wanted to cover. I want to get your guys' thoughts on, maybe the first 2 rounds as a whole, what you guys expect for the Sweet 16, what you expect for the Elite 8.
I would say, if I'm going to start with my thoughts on round 1, I thought it was, it was really fun. I'm not going to lie. I was disappointed again. It hurts to see a trend starting to form where, we're only 3 years removed from seeing a 16 and a 15 seed win in the same tournament. I understand that's just not a realistic expectation to carry into every tournament. But the fact that I'm just seeing a lot of these mid-majors go into the tournament and just not even really competing. I feel like we've gotten to a point where teams like Akron, Northern Iowa, teams of that caliber that looked really strong, like South Florida, teams that looked really strong in their conferences, just not even looking like they deserve to be on the same court. But at the same time, we do have games like Siena almost upset Duke. That shows that it's not completely lost. at the same time that we've got so many great moments, so many great games, I still feel the magic. It's still absolutely there. And for the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, I'll just kind of briefly run through who I think is gonna like if like a little bit of revised predictions, almost like a second chance bracket. I'm still rolling with Arizona to come out of the West region. I think they're just more well rounded than Arkansas, and I think Arizona Purdue would be a phenomenal game. For the South, now that Florida's out, that definitely shakes things up a bit. Man, I'm scared of picking Houston just because I don't want to jinx them, and Illinois is really good. But I'll go with Houston just because I feel like they've looked really, really strong. I think it's between Illinois and Houston. For the East, I think I'm going to roll with, man, that's tough. I think I might go with UConn, to be honest with you. I don't know. Duke is just really scaring me right now. And I think it's going to come down to UConn or Michigan State. And for the Midwest, give me Michigan. They've looked nigh unstoppable.
I feel really good about my Michigan national championship pick. Don't feel so good about Duke as much anymore. Going to, I think I had them in the national championship. Feel really good about Houston, and I'll still take the Razorbacks. I don't know. I feel good. Like I'm gonna stick with my picks, pretty much that I had set. The one that I might not stick with would be Duke. I feel like Michigan State. Yeah, that I think that's the most difficult region where like you could see basically any of the four teams come out, and I wouldn't be that stunned. Like if I'm not gonna lie, man, like if Texas went to the Final Four, I would be pretty surprised. I know it's only like winning 2 more games, and they've already technically won 3, but the Magic's got to run out at some point, right? The Horns got to go down at some point, Keenan.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just, I think there's a good chance that Purdue is just going to put up like a dominant performance against Texas. I would just be shocked if we're like talking about like Texas making it to the Elite Eight or God forbid the Final Four. And I will say Purdue's another team where I would love a U of A versus Boilermakers Elite Eight because Purdue has also they've looked really strong these past 2 games. I know that they kept it close with Miami, but I like the Boilermakers a lot.
Well, the next time we're on the show, we'll be talking about the Final Four. We'll know who it is. We'll be recapping the games we're talking about right now. I think in terms of mid majors and whatnot, you do have like High Point win, you do have Utah State win, you do have VCU win, and who am I forgetting? Who's the other mid major I'm forgetting, or was it just those 3? VCU, Utah State, High Point.
If you want to throw Gonzaga in there, but they're not really a mid-major.
St. Louis is a mid-major.
Oh yeah,
St. Louis dominated Georgia. Yeah,
and all those teams did really well, but they're a little different than most mid-majors. Like they do get paid a lot of money, and you did see like a Siena and I don't think it's completely dead, and I also think that when we compare it to the previous like decade or so. The previous decade or so also had a lot more upsets than usual. We were a little bit spoiled. We had never seen a 16 seed win once, let alone twice. We hadn't seen a Princeton or a St. Peter's, go that deep. We hadn't seen a Final Four where there was no 1, 2, 3, or 4 seeds. I know there was no 1, 2, or 3. I think UConn might have been a 4, but regardless. So I think the magic is still there. Though I do think there does need to be some changes to help small schools. I'm going to make a TikTok about this tomorrow. I have it all scripted out. And I think I talked to Keenan about this. But I think the NCAA should implement something very similar to what soccer has with transfer fees. Essentially what that would be is when a player wants to move from a school to a school, they're still allowed to do it. And they're still going to get paid by NIL. Because I think those 2 things are both great. For far too long, college athletes made so much money for these universities, and they didn't see a single cent of it. They were not paid for their labor, and that's messed up. That totally should not happen. The universities shouldn't be able to profit off of them. But, while something that I really think helped the players, it did not help the small universities. So to balance that, transfer fees. When a player goes from a school, the smaller school gets paid. And this works out in soccer pretty well. You have clubs that are legitimately just like a kind of academy clubs. Like they take very raw players who are young, they develop them, and then they get paid for it. And we kind of see that in college basketball as is, but these schools aren't getting paid for it, and they're kind of have to go back to square one when they already don't have a whole lot of NIL money and resources and whatnot. If they can get some money for the players that they developed to then, reintroduce back into their program, I think that would go a really long way. Now, the major flaw that I see with this is that it would be a little bit tough when negotiations, let's say, I'm just trying to think of a transfer example. Like, let's say Bennett Sturt's going from Drake to Iowa. He really wants to go to Iowa, and Iowa wants him to come there. But Drake doesn't feel that Iowa's giving enough money. It might make the transfer process a little bit harder, but I don't think that's necessarily a super bad thing. And I'm sure there's some ironed out details you can make of, like, hey, this is what a minimum transfer fee has to look like. Maybe based on how good the player is, you can have some sort of like outline of scale. And I think that would be the simplest change that would go a really long way in terms of helping the small schools.
Yeah. You kind of like danced around one, but like of a point that I really believe in, where I don't think mid majors are like dead. I think we still see mid majors can have, a lot of success. I think the hardest aspect of them is like it, like for a player like Terrence Hill of VCU, who VCU had a great year and he was awesome in the tournament. What like incentive is there for him to stay at VCU rather than going to get $2 million to go play at some big ACC school? I think the hardest part for mid majors to consistently be great is like in the past you would see mid majors be great because they can have four guys who have been at the school for a long time. They build that chemistry, but all of a sudden now it's like if you have one or two players at a mid major who are really good, they're just going to go leave and go to a bigger school for more money and an opportunity to go win a national championship. So the roster retention is really tough for these small schools, and I think that's what makes it the most difficult for these smaller schools to be able to compete.
I think that's the biggest thing is helping out the small schools, be able to retain players or get compensated for their players, just not lose it for nothing. You know what I mean? Like not every player should be like free agency where they just leave and they get nothing in return. They should at
Yeah,
least be able to
I
trade
mean, I
for
think
some.
I made a similar point. One of my favorite examples of that, what you mentioned, Aiden, like the roster chemistry, is Lehigh beating Duke. I think it was back in 2012. Like with CJ McCollum. Man, if just think about if like CJ McCollum, if that Lehigh team was in now it like in the NIL environment today, like he would be poached so fast. But the fact that he was allowed to stay there for all 4 years and he was able to, gel with the team, get that chemistry going into the NCAA tournament, that 1 year, finally everything went right and they beat Duke in the tournament. That's how it's done. It's because they're an experienced team. That's why they are so good in conference play and it translates to the tournament. And it just kind of feels like it's just more in the short term now. It's all about, we have to do this 1 year and 1 year only because these guys are going to be gone and it's less of a point with the coaches because, to be honest, that's just been kind of a phenomenon for as long as I can remember. I mean, coaches getting poached by bigger teams is nothing new. But now that the players are doing it, it just creates these incredibly short windows for mid majors. And I don't blame them for not getting it done all in 1 year. It takes time. Like you see a lot of mid majors where they make the tournament, they get blown out, but they're back over and over and over again. And eventually they'll get it right.
Yeah. But man, I think that wraps up the college basketball section. You know, we're only going to have like two or three more big college basketball sections. Oh, I did want to say one more thing. And that also is part of the reason why I'm so disappointed in San Diego State. Because they had all the talent last year that was going to transfer out, and then they kept pretty much all of it, except for Nick Boyd. But they kept pretty much everyone, and they had the roster retention, and they should have been able to gel, and they still sucked. So, not ideal, of course. But let's move on to the next part of our segment with the player of the week. Aiden or Keenan, do you have a player of the week for me?
Um, I do have a player of the week. I'll start us off here. I'm going to go with UConn's Terrace Reed. In his game versus Furman, he had 31 points and 27 rebounds. It is only I believe, the third 30-20 game in NCAA history, or at least since 1960. And then he followed that up with another really good performance versus UCLA, where he had 10 points, 13 rebounds, and three blocks. So he's been one of the better players all tournament, and just that single game performance of 31 and 27 is enough for him to be my player of the week.
Man, oh man, this was hard. There were multiple people that I was considering. I think Terrence was like he was super close to being my player of the week because again, his performance against North Carolina was absolutely electric. But screw it. I mean, if I'm gonna be biased, this is the best time to do it. Give me Vocatitis, man. He went ham in the first two games against BYU. He was incredible against BYU. Had another great performance against Gonzaga. Big reason why this team is playing to the level where they are now. They're getting hot in the NCAA tournament. Another guy where, I saw the talent all year, but he was so frustrating, so inconsistent. And as you saw, especially at the end of that BYU game, man, is he just brutal to watch from the free throw line. He was missing them left and right against the Cougars and almost kind of blew the game. But, glad that he's on this team. Huge for their defensive presence and their rebounding. If Texas is going to continue their run, he's going to be a big reason why.
One second, I had some issues with that. You guys can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, cool. Yeah,
Did,
sorry.
did I did I randomly interrupt you? Because I was just
You
sitting
did,
here,
dude.
like,
Oh my god.
waiting for you to say something, and I was like,
man.
I'm just not hearing Casey. Like I thought you were just like waiting for me to say something
No.
after Aiden
was messed
spoke,
What
and then I was like,
the problem was is I
So-
unplugged the microphone. It got knocked over, and then I plugged it back in, and it was fine on Stream and on OBS, but it wasn't fine on Video Ninja, which is our service where we go together. So then I had to unplug it again and hook it back up on Video Ninja, but then I had my mic muted while I was doing that, so it took a little while. But yeah, I'm assuming it's my turn for Player of the Week now. I wasn't listening very well because I was working on all that, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say
You are up.
you guys didn't pick my guys because I wasn't listening very well. So shame on me trying to fix stuff behind the scenes. But I picked Terrence Hill Jr. From VCU. It was my favorite game of the tournament. The first one against UNC. He played absolutely lights out. 34 points off the bench is unreal. Still played 40 minutes, which is off the bench kind of feels like you got to put it in air quotes there. And then he put up a pretty admirable effort against Illinois, 17-7. Definitely a guy who's probably going to leave and get a nice bag from a school. And I saw this one edit. I think I reposted it. That was about like the VCU win. I don't know if you saw. It's with like, I don't even know how to explain this without like showing you the video, but it's like this guy and he's like rapping. He's like, "My name is Terrence.
Oh yeah.
From VCU.
Oh yeah.
No, biology major from
Biology
VCU.
major from VCU. Yeah.
Also, I have
That's
a minor too. What?
Yeah. No, I
am
so familiar with that video.
I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I guess that wraps up our players of the week, which means we can finally move into some other sports. Well, not another sport, a different league though. Still talking about basketball as we go on to the NBA. And March basketball is a little unserious. If you watch the NBA for a number of years, so some random stuff happens in March when people are getting hurt and just there's some unserious lineups getting thrown out there. And the Wizards and the Pacers kind of embody that. Both in the East, they don't play each other again this season, which I was really hoping they would. Both teams have lost 16. No, the Pacers just won today.
Yeah,
Oh.
let's go.
The Pacers beat the Magic. As of not too long
On
ago.
the back of a crate, on the back of a 37 piece by Spicy P.
No. Oh, no. My segment
What
is
do we what do
ruined.
we do what do we do in Indiana? We got the wrong priorities at the end of the
Wow.
season.
Well, they both had lost 16 in a row, but yeah, the Pacers. Oh my God, Andrew Nembhard had 13 and 14. T.J. McConnell had 13 on 100% from the field. These guys were
What is this
hooping.
game?
These
What
guys
is
were
this game?
hooping. Jay
Jarris
Huff.
Walker had 20.
What am I looking at?
Uh,
Paulo
I
had
mean, com-
39.
I was gonna say completely wasting a Paulo masterclass in this game. Even
Tristan da
yeah,
Silva.
even Tristan Da Silva, Wendell Carter Jr. had 17 points. Desmond Bain had 17 points.
Genuinely, what am I looking at in this box score?
Jet Howard had
Anyways,
10.
anyways, irregardless, both of these teams suck, and they both lose a lot of games. And I'm assuming the Pacers, they might not lose 16 more in a row, but they might get close to it. And just the tankathon is pretty crazy because, yeah, you have the Nets, Wizards, and Pacers, which are all at 16 or 17 wins. Then you have the Kings who are at 19 wins. I think the top five is going to be pretty clearly Nets, Wizards, Pacers, and then Jazz, Kings, and
Jazz
then
Kings.
there's kind of a tier gap with like the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, the Pelicans. Hopefully the Bulls can get down there, but we'll see.
Uh, they're gonna win. They're gonna win just enough games. Like we're closing. We're tied with the Bucks now for the 11 seed in the East.
Pulled off a gritty, scrappy win against the Rockets.
Like why, dude? Just
Kill me. Kill me.
No
This
more.
is lose for both of us.
I don't want to win games, and Keenan really doesn't want to lose games. And somehow the Bulls are finding ways. Like I knew that they would to win just enough games at the end of the season where they end up with like the 9th overall pick in a stacked draft class. Unfortunately.
Yeah, you'll still get you'll get what, like Koa Pete or Keaton Wagler or Axel Lindenberg.
I don't like Keaton Wagler as an NBA prospect at all. At all.
Casey, I wanted to ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's just say, it plays out like we expect that the Pacers and Wizards both get top lottery picks. And let's pick, but if they do get like one of those top prospects, how do you like their chances going to next season? Could this be a situation where it's an instant, hey, we could continue for a playoff spot, or do you think this is more of a long-term project for them?
Sorry, what teams again?
Like Pacers and Wizards.
Well, the Pacers, obviously have a. I'm sorry, and the question was actually for me. Keenan said he wanted me to ask.
It's for everyone.
But after I answer, maybe you can have your input if Keenan so desires. But anyways, the Pacers did win, or not win, but they literally went to the NBA championship last year. So as bad as they have been, there's clearly like infrastructure here, and I think it kind of depends on the type of player they get and what pick they get. Like clearly with losing Miles Turner, like you needed a rim protector, and they got Zubats, who's also missed a lot of time. So you figure, okay, here's how the lineup would look. It would be Tyrese, Nembhard, Nesmith, Pascal, and Zubats. So the clear weak link, like they have a really good, 4-5. They have a really good point guard, obviously. Can they get a better wing? Okay, there's some decent options. Obviously if they get the number one pick and they get Debansa, like they might be. Oh my goodness gracious! I mean, what would Tyrese Halliburton do for facilitation for AJ Debansa? Has he ever had a tenth of a passer that Tyrese Halliburton is? I mean, truly, I don't think he has. It would be incredible what he would be able to do. If they got, I think they'd still draft like Cam Boozer. The fit might be a little different, but I think it would still be fine. You figure it out if you have a player that good. They would still be solid. If they slip to 4 is where it would get interesting. Because I'm assuming, and also if they had Darren Peterson, that would be pretty good for them as well. I think Boozer and Debansa are better, but they would still be very, very good with Peterson for sure. If they go with 4, it's kind of weird because I know you just go Caleb Wilson probably. You probably just go Caleb Wilson. You Yeah, I would say you probably just go Caleb Wilson at that point because you don't want the guards is the thing. Even if you love Acuff, even if you love Flemings, even if you love any of those guys, I don't think it really works next to Tyrese Halliburton, who's so ball dominant, and you already have Andrew Nemhart as well, who's truly a point guard at heart. So yeah, I think to make a long story short, if they get a top 4 pick, especially a top 3 pick, they might be one of my title favorites next year, honestly, considering how good this team was without a top end pick. If the Wizards get one, I don't know, man. Anthony Davis, Trae Young, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington
The,
core, like
and like Trey Johnson,
look,
like
they'll
he's
probably
like,
not. They won't be. They'll be better. They'll be a lot better. Like if you add DeBanza to the Wizards, they're probably like a 9 seed. I don't know. It just how much does Trae Young and Anthony Davis even play? That's at the end of the day what matters more than how good of a
yeah,
rookie they get. Um, they're such a freaky team. But I think truly like day one, any of the top 3 guys, I'm pretty confident will make your team a lot better.
yeah. Like the Pacers can go from like being a finals team to one of the worst teams in ball to being right back up there in contending in the Eastern Conference that's not that deep. Um, like I don't I think like it can't be understated how important um Tyrese Halliburton is to like just how this team operates. Like they are built to play with Tyrese Halliburton, and when you take him out of the equation, it makes the team so much worse. But AJ DeBancer with Halliburton would be amazing with like the way that they want to run and play fast. Like him playing in transition with Halliburton would be really fun to watch. Peterson would still be great, but like DeBanza would kind of fit in perfectly with Indiana. And then yeah, like for Washington, they probably I don't know like there's such an interesting team where you have like Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, and then you have Anthony Davis and Trey Young, where the big question is, yeah, how many games are you going to get out of either one of them, and how many games are you going to get where both of them are sharing the court together? I think is really important, but um, like the Wizards will definitely be one of the more interesting teams to watch next year.
I'll be interested to see how it all plays out. I don't even know if they're gonna be that good, dude. Like,
I don't think they're going to be that good. They'll at
yeah,
least be entertaining and interesting to kind of monitor.
I'll be interested to see how the pieces mesh. In recent news, though, we did have Luca drop 60. And I think the funniest part of this is by the way, he was phenomenal, like incredibly efficient, in a pretty tight game. He dropped 60 on Bam, and after the game, I don't know if you guys saw the press conference clip, but Bam said, "Yeah, I know how it feels to be in that mode. You know, when you're just scoring so much." And I thought that was great. And I saw a couple people giving him flack for being like, they're like, "Oh, why are you dragging it, bro?" He dropped 83. Like,
He dropped 83. He can drag that for the rest of his life.
I've
And
I would bring. I'm surprised he doesn't talk about it more. Okay, I would never
oh,
shut up about that.
I'd be if I dropped 83 points in an NBA game, I'd be insufferable. You would never hear the end of it.
Would you change your jersey number to 83 just so
Yeah,
no one
I'd
ever
change
forgets?
my I would change my IG handle to Bam Adebayo 83.
yeah.
I would change my jersey number. Um, I'd probably have a custom 83 chain that I would wear to every
Mm-hmm.
game. I'd be insufferable if
I
I
changed
dropped
my
83
like my
points.
my house address. I'm sure he's got enough money to do something like that. Um, I would try to like just anything
Uh,
that has a number, you're gonna change it to that.
I would start like a liquor brand called like eight called like 83 tequila or something like that. Like
Oh, brother, we're
I would
milking
I
it.
would milking it is I mean there's no bounds to how far this would go. How much that I would milk this 83 point performance.
I don't know if y'all have checked, but like if you check like Luca's game log since like the start of March, like the lowest point total he's had in a game was like he had 30 or like he had like 27
Huh.
against the Nuggets.
What?
Like he has been insane.
Why the start of March?
Um,
What
I'm
happened
just
around?
looking at.
What happened around then? What happened? Does anyone know?
I don't
Something
know. Did he lose weight? I don't know.
yeah,
Did something
I'm wondering what is
happen in his life that might motivate him?
Did he have a child?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, he had a child recently, but I think that was before March.
it? Okay.
I-
All right,
Do you? Okay, Keenan, do you actually not know?
No,
I have no idea. I can't.
You guys
I
actually
can't
don't know?
wait- I
You
can't
guys-
wait to hear what you have to tell me.
He broke up with his fiance. His fiance broke up with him in
Okay.
early March because he was found with pictures with how do I put this adult
Other
models, not
Okay.
just other women, but certain women with certain professions that
Involve a camera?
involve cameras and the such. Anyways, yeah, that's what happened to Luca. He like his fiance like unfollowed him and everything, and publicly was like, "We're not getting married anymore," and that was in early March. And since then, I guess he's been focused on basketball.
He's been on a.
I
He's
mean,
been on
yeah. I hope
he's been on a tear.
I hate to
But-
be insensitive, but
like I mean, whatever is the fuel to his fire. I mean, you look at this 32, 33, 60, 40. He dropped
Jeez.
51 against the Bulls, which I mean, it is the Bulls, but I mean, he has just been insane in the month of March. Like, I just wonder how many players are better than Luca? Like, maybe you could name a handful of players. How many players are you taking over him?
over the past 10 games, he is averaging 39 points on 48, 39, 78 shooting splits.
It's just that's absurd.
With 8 rebounds and 7
How?
assists and 2.5 steals.
They did lose tonight, so the winning streak is snapped at 9 games, but he had another great performance. So, I mean,
Mr. Have you man? This is scrub on the bench named LeBron had a pretty subpar performance tonight.
not too much on the old man. All right.
19, 15, and 10? What are we talking about? You got a freaking triple double.
Oh wait, no, I'm looking at the right one. He had 12. Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
12,
That
9,
was
and 10.
the 60. I'm on the wrong game.
He had-
I mean, 12, 9,
he-
and 10. Come on, that's almost a
It's
triple
okay.
double.
He's
Ah.
41, guys. Leave him alone.
No, it's really on the other side thanks to Mr. Is it Dennis Jenkins?
Danis, yeah,
Danis
Danis.
Jenkins,
He just decided to go off tonight.
Career high 30 points for Danis.
But Luka's leading the league in points per game. Like, he's at, I think, 34 now, which is just nuts. I mean, the MVP race is going to be close. Like, it's between, like, considering games played, like, it's in between, like
Well-
Jokic can't miss too many more, but, like, Shea's up there, Luka's up there.
This is what
I don't
feel like
think it can be Cade Cunningham anymore.
this season should be the impetus for changing that rule about games played. I understand like the logic behind it, but like we're having so many contenders on the brink or already eliminated just because they're not fitting that quota.
No, Cade
gonna
because
have
of the
some-
collapsed lung, which, like, sounds terrible. Like, I heard that, and I was like, collapsed lung? That sounds life-threatening, and apparently it's not that big of a deal.
I don't think it's not as bad as it sounds, but he will be out like a month or two.
Yeah. No, I'll be interested in the MVP race, because I think it's, like, between, like, Lucas Shea, mainly right now. Let me look at the
probably.
odds
Yeah.
real quick.
And like Wemby.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Wemby has to be up there.
Let's
But
see.
like, yeah, I don't know what the game pace is for some of these guys. Like that's the thing.
Okay, wow.
You
This
want to
is-
toss
it's,
out some names, but like, will they play enough games?
Here are the top guys in odds. It goes Shea, Luka, Wemby, Jokic, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell. But Shea's at minus 1,500. So
Like, he is the
it's
heavy
Shea.
favorite.
It's Shea. It's Shea. Yeah. Shea is the MVP favorite. Wemby, Depoy pretty handily, which makes sense. And then Con and Cooper's really close. Minus 190, plus 150 for Cooper. Most improved is probably going to be Duran, but Denny and Nikhil Alexander-Walker have a shot at it. Um, yeah, yeah. I'm just scrolling through here. Um, yeah, but that is But speaking of LeBron, he passed the regular season all game regular season games played record that was previously hit by Robert Parrish. He's at 1,600 regular season games. Um, if he wanted to be on his Udonis Haslem mark, he could play till 50.
That's what's crazy is I know I joked about him earlier, but like legit, I have no clue when LeBron is going to retire. Like maybe he's not like maybe he's lost like a bit of a step. I mean, you look at his numbers; they haven't been peak LeBron because the guy got drafted over 20 years ago. But I still think he's got like minimum like 3 seasons left in him. He's relentless.
Like the thing is, like how many more years does he have at playing like a pretty high level? And I know he's not the type to like want to drag it out even when he's still not a great player, but like he could still be like I think he can still be like a quality NBA player legitimately until he's 50 years old. I don't think that that's that crazy to say just because of how the IQ and how good of a passer he is. Like that's still valuable enough where even if he's not scoring a ton, um, like he can still be a valuable NBA player. It's kind of nuts the level of longevity. Um, I don't think it'll be touched in really any other sport. Playing 23 years in a sport at such a high level is just insane.
I hope he just goes as long as possible and is just like a cool role player because he could be like a plus starter for a long time. But if we have nothing else to talk about for hoops, let's move over to the World Baseball Classic, a topic that I mean USA fans probably aren't going to be super juiced about considering how the final went.
What in the world was that? Like this was one of the most like this was just a terrible performance from USA, straight up. All I heard going into the World Baseball Classic this year was how unfair it was for the rest of the field, how stacked the United States team was. Because keep in mind that back in 2023, they made the WBC final against a stacked Japan team, and that USA team, like especially on the pitching staff, they weren't as great as this team. They added so much MLB talent, and yet the same result happens. And that final against Venezuela was pathetic. How do you have all these amazing hitters and you can't hit the ball against Eduardo Rodriguez, who's not he's not a scrub at all. Like there's a reason why the Diamondbacks gave him a lot of money, but he's been terrible these past 2 seasons. He's absolutely a pitcher you could have gotten to, and it just looked like the USA couldn't do anything in this game. And then by the time they threw Garrett Whitlock out there, I knew it was over. But credit to Venezuela, they deserve this one. They like people sleep on how talented Venezuela's national team is. They played like this was the biggest game of their lives, and the result reflects that. I know got a bunch of family living in Venezuela, a lot of family that lives here that are from Venezuela, and they were amped for this result.
Yeah, I mean, like the big difference I saw, like Daniel Palencia, before throwing that final pitch was crying on the mound. Like there were tears coming down, before he even threw the final pitch to win the game. So, like that just shows how much this meant to Venezuela, and I think you could see it with like in comparison where USA certainly had more talent, but it meant more to some of these other squads like the Dominican Republic and like a Venezuela. Um, like they were treating this, yeah, like you said, like this was the biggest game of their lives, and it just didn't feel like didn't feel like that's how the USA was treating it. Um, and we got an Aaron Judge big
Ooh,
game classic.
can we get some of the
0 for
nicknames?
0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. I don't know if there were any slander nicknames, but there were certainly some tweets that I
Yes,
saw of Aaron Judge. that
Yes,
were
no
um
one. I would argue
that were
like he was one
hilarious.
of the biggest losers of the WBC because he was getting clowned on relentlessly more than anyone on the USA's team.
I mean, he struck out looking to end the or he struck out to end the Italy game. Um, like he was he was awful. Like quite frankly, he was awful in this tournament. He was horrible in the Venezuela game. Um, I mean, you're supposed to be like the best player in the world, MVP, all that stuff, and you're 0 for 4 with you're 0 for 4 with three strikeouts. You're letting like 21-year-old Roman Anthony outplay you in the tournament. Like it's just it's unacceptable, and it continues from his postseason success with the Yankees, where he's a great regular season player, but he kind of disappears in the postseason, and he disappeared in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
I think the other big thing that needs to happen is like Mark DeRosa. Like it's over, bro. Like we cannot
Oh,
run it
he,
back with him as the manager. He just made so many baffling lineup
I
decisions.
mean,
The fact that Gunnar Henderson didn't get more time in the lineup is just criminal because he was producing more than some of the veterans. Like I would say the veterans on the USA team, especially on the hitter side, just didn't show up. It was the young guys that were playing loose, looked like they were having fun, and they wanted to be there.
I mean, Mark DeRosa, like I know he was a former player and was on like a World Baseball Classic team, but he's never been a manager, has he? Like he's just kind
No,
of more like a TV personality. Like it would be the equivalent of like us of like the U.S. being like, you know what, Charles Barkley, you're the Team USA Olympic head basketball coach.
Can
Get
you
it done, buddy.
can you imagine him in the huddle where
Oh, galvanizing
like
the
you got
troops.
you got a rebound? Or, nah, I can't do Chuck that well. You do a lot better Chuck than me, Aiden.
Well, you know, what I'm saying to you, Jason Tatum and LeBron, you got to put a body on a guy, be able to box out, get the rebound,
Your
look to move it up the court.
Dick Vitale
My
impression was
oh
that
no, oh my
maybe
I
god.
don't
some
ever
stuff not for air.
I don't
Yeah.
ever want to talk about that
Were you
game
there for that,
ever
Keenan?
again, dude.
I,
Oh,
I caught the tail end of it. I was like, oh my god, I
No,
can't
but were
believe
you
you all
there
just
for Aiden's impression?
oh
no,
no,
I
no, he
wasn't.
was not.
We need to
We'll
talk about that
talk
off
about it
air.
off air.
Um, I just wanted to mention real quick, like here's the difference between like Mark DeRosa, like has never been a manager. Like Omar Lopez, I know who he was going into the tournament because he's been a coach for the Astros for years. So like at least Venezuela got a guy who he's been at the major league level for decades and he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I don't think it takes much analysis to say, hey, we should have a real manager managing our
Like
team. We should take it more seriously.
there's so many better options than Mark DeRosa. Like, why is it not Dave Roberts? Like, I don't see any explanation for why it would not be Dave Roberts and would be Mark DeRosa, who is a TV analyst, being the
Uh,
manager. Just it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, we need to use it's lost its luster now that he's won back-to-back World Series, but I need the Dave Roberts common mistake meme at the WBC.
Um, and then we got opening day coming up in just 2 days. What are your guys' thoughts on how the baseball season is going to unfold?
This is it's going to be interesting for sure. I think unfortunately, it's got the cloud of the 2027 CBA negotiations coming up, and I think a lot of people rightfully are worried that this could be the last bit of baseball that we watch for some time. But this is going to be really interesting because I think there were plenty of big splashes in free agency. I think the big one is who's going to come out of the AL now that I think teams like the Tigers added a bunch of big signings like Framber Valdez to the rotation. Could they be the AL favorite? What about a team like the Red Sox? They also made a lot of big swings. Could this be the year that the Mariners finally get their first pennant? That'll be a race I'm definitely interested to watch. And then obviously on the other side, who on the NL not even is going to like have a chance at who's just going to have a chance at taking the Dodgers crown? Could it be like maybe the Giants or the Padres? Like, could there be some division competition? What about teams like the Mets? The Mets spent a ton of money this offseason. Will the Phillies, maybe in the last bit of their playoff window, will they step up? It'll be really interesting to see. And obviously, what I think the one thing we can all agree on is that every single person outside of Los Angeles, California, will be rooting for someone else to be hoisting up the trophy at the end of the year.
I mean, I think just if you're like almost if you're like just a baseball fan, you have to be cheering for someone other than LA because if LA wins again, the strike is all but like a foregone conclusion that we might just have a full season of no MLB baseball, where like like a three-peat for the Dodgers. I think a lot of people would look at that and say like something has to change to kind of balance out the playing field where you don't just have one team that's by far the richest and they're spending like 80% of their payroll just on the roster. Like there needs to be something. I think salary cap could be good, but salary floor is also needed to encourage some of these owners to actually want to and have to spend money, just to try to like balance out the playing field because it does feel like the Dodgers are just so much better and like just better equipped and better suited than almost any other team.
I I will agree with that. Like I agree that it's not, we need a salary cap or we just need a salary floor. It's both. But if that's what it takes for MLB to get to a more equal and balanced state for everyone, be prepared to see MLB return in 2028 because those negotiations will take probably at least a year because that is a hard sell for the players union.
Yeah, that's crazy to me that like that this just could be like there could be a full gap year. Like I know we've seen shortened seasons and whatnot in a lot of sports, but I can't think of outside of the COVID years where, but even then you didn't get like a whole season canceled outside of the end of March Madness, which was tough, in all those college sports. But like the NBA returned, the NBA's had lockout years, the NFL's had lockout years, and baseball's had lockout years. But a full year canceled, or even really a majority year canceled, I can't remember it ever happening in my life.
I don't think it's like ever happened. Like I do know that the 2004-05 season for the NHL, that is
Yeah,
probably the only thing that comes to my mind of like the season like outright did not happen. Like there was no like at least with MLB back in 1994, they had part of the season and then they canceled the rest of it, including the playoffs. Like I just could not imagine a full year going by and nothing happening in the MLB circle. That would just be it would be miserable to be quite honest with you. But that's the reality that they're facing.
Yeah, that'll be crazy.
I do wonder if like we do get an MLB lockout, if we'll just get like how during the NBA lockout that one year you had like a bunch of players playing in like celebrity games and playing in like the Drew League and stuff like that. I wonder if we'll just get a bunch of NBA or MLB players playing like random baseball games or playing like in with the Savannah Bananas or something like that. Like just trying to find like ways to at least like if you're not going to have an MLB season, at least have games that you're playing where fans can still like tune in and you're not going a full year just of playing no baseball.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be interesting. Well, we're gonna wrap up the show here with NFL. We always tend to find something to talk about with it. The draft is coming up in a little bit, but first we had free agency. We kind of were more focused on college sports while free agency was happening, but a couple things to hit on. First of all, the Jalen Waddle trade going to the Broncos.
Yeah, I think a lot of Broncos fans were rightfully really upset at the beginning of free agency because like they were the only team to not sign a single outside free agent after a season where they were the number one seed and it was the right time to, hey, this is our Super Bowl window now. We should add. But this Jalen Waddle trade is really interesting to me because I think it's undeniable that they needed to get more weapons for Bo Nix in that wide receiver room. I just think that, Cortland Sutton is really solid, but that's the problem. The whole room is just, okay. I don't think that Marvin Mims, like when you're throwing, I'm sorry, like as much as I love the man since he's a Texas Longhorns legend, you should not be throwing like serious passes to like you should not be using little Jordan Humphrey as a top receiver.
Oh
That's just
no,
like I love little Jordan Humphrey, but like come on.
no, little Jordan.
Like Waddle's talent level is undeniable. I'm just not sure if he has shown enough to where he'll ever be like a top tier wide receiver, but he could be what Denver needs. I'm just curious to see how it works out with the price tag that they paid for him with the first round pick.
The first round pick does matter, but it was late in the first anyway, and you get Waddle for the next 3 years, which I think is really important. Like this isn't just you're trading for a guy for 1 year and then you're gonna have to extend him. Like you have some control with that contract, and maybe one of the bigger aspects is like we saw it with the Seahawks when they added Rashid Shaheed, who's not even I wouldn't say not really that close to the level of receiver that Waddle is, but has the speed where um, like it just opens up the offense so much more. We saw how good Kenneth Walker was being able to run the ball with having like an elite field stretcher like that, an elite downfield threat. So it just makes the Broncos offense a lot more dynamic, even if Bo Nix might not look to find Waddle downfield all the time. It opens up a lot more.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good move. Do we want to talk about the Max Crosby deal at all, or a whole situation?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, I mean it was certainly the biggest free agency news.
Yeah, I think my thoughts on it are I do understand like obviously you don't want to trade two first round picks for a guy who has if this is true like if Crosby does have significant concerns about his knee, that's not a product that you want to pay two first round picks for. I just can't imagine that it was that big of a surprise for the Ravens. Like I feel like it was pretty common knowledge that he had a knee injury and that he was going to get surgery on it, and to kind of pull the plug like hours before the new league year started and then pivot to Trey Hendrickson, it just kind of felt weird. But Hendrickson is not a bad consolation prize at all. It's what the Ravens needed, especially after they lost so much free agent talent before signing him. It's just the money. They paid a lot of money to a guy where he has injury concerns, plus he's older than Crosby. So you have to wonder how much of his contract will still reflect his prime years.
The issue with Hendrickson too, like while he's a great player, um, he's more of like a designated pass rusher. Like and he's great at doing that. He's great at getting to the quarterback. He's great at getting sacks, but that's kind of all he does. He really doesn't hold up very well against the run, which Max Crosby does do. Like Max Crosby just is a complete player. He can get after the quarterback. He can knock down passes. He can force fumble. Like he just is a complete player. So, um, the price tag for a 32-year-old designated pass rusher, I don't love, but you needed to do something after you missed out on Max Crosby and lost so much talent in free agency. You need to do something to kind of maintain um, some level of your roster and try to be contending, but um, they would have obviously been a much better team had that Crosby trade gone through.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit. Did you guys get a chance to see the whole flag football? Fanatics ran like a flag football thing where they had like some old NFL players, some current NFL players, and then the USA flag football team. Did you guys catch that at all?
I saw some
Like
clips.
yeah, I was gonna say like I mainly was made aware of it on Twitter, and then my main takeaway was watching Tom Brady throw that absolute dime for a touchdown, and everyone freaking out about it.
That was cool. The thing I want to talk about more though was that the flag football team like dominated, and I saw a couple breakdowns of this, and I saw some clips that I don't know if you remember, but back when it was announced that there'd be flag football at the USA Olympics, the USA like flag football team, like the guys who play flag football full time, not football, were like, well, we're gonna be the team, like not the NFL guys. And me and a lot of other people kind of were like, that's kind of ridiculous. Like you guys are awesome and all, but like, Tyreek Hill is gonna be better, or Zay Flowers, or whoever. But they kind of proved why it is like still a different sport, because you have the NFL guys who are like super elusive and whatnot, but the flag football guys are just built differently. Like they're not built for any sort of contact. They're all like 130 pounds and super skinny. But the moves I was seeing them do were like unreal. Where they in the NFL, when you're trying to juke a guy, in the NFL, you're gonna move side to side, right? Because you're not trying to get like wrapped up. But in flag football, it only matters your hips. So what the dudes would do, if you check out some of these clips, and I'm like standing up so you might be able to see, instead of like juking just side to side, they were also like squatting down and like dropping their hips and going under. And it was these movements that like I have never seen before. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course the NFL guys can't do that. Their ACLs would explode. Like they just have too much meat on the bone. It's built for a different athletic movement. So yeah, I think the NFL, like not the NFL, but like the flag football guys are gonna make the team if it's merit based. The one thing that the NFL guys do have though is the jump ball guys, because they don't have a whole lot of that in flag football. If you were just like D-Hop, cooked, because they just couldn't guard him. Like they just weren't big enough. Like he just one hand snagged everything. And I think regardless of what the team is, I think USA will do really, really good, and they'll probably win it all. I mean, it's football. But I would like to see a bunch of the flag football guys, and then like D-Hop, maybe like Odell had some crazy catches that like just these flag guys aren't making because they're not that big and good at like pinpointing the ball. Like who else can really moss guys? Mike Evans gonna be too old.
Like
contested catch artists,
like a Drake London.
Yeah, he's pretty big. He would be good. I'm just trying to think of like tall receivers. Like, hold up, give me 1 second. Let me look at. I haven't thought about football a whole lot recently. I'm not gonna lie to you, fellas. It's been
all good.
It's been hoops. I'm kind of blanking. Receiving yards per game. Jalen Colker led the NFL in receiving yards per game in the playoffs with 134. It's kind of hilarious.
That's not. I mean, he only played one game, but yeah.
Jamar Chase would be really good. He would be really hard to guard. Like Nico Collins would probably be solid.
Yeah, I mean,
AJ Brown would be
that
hard
was
to
a name
guard.
that came to mind. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Tet. He's not like that crazy at the catch point, but he's still like a big body.
Oh, like a
T Higgins.
Like a T. I was gonna say T Higgins. Yeah.
T Higgins. Quentin Johnston. Yeah, but like the bigger body receivers are probably gonna do pretty damn well. But yeah, that's just what I saw from the flag football stuff.
I'd love to see it be like an open tryout where like, yeah, you let the actual flag football guys like try out, and if they truly are just the better flag football players, why shouldn't they be able to make the team? I do think it might be like a little bit of a mixture, but like yeah, I'm all for like if the actual flag football guys are just simply better, that they should make the team. I did see a clip from that game of I Show Speed trying to cover Devontae Smith on a double move. And I will say to his credit, he held up pretty well. Like Speed, he lives up to his name. He is fast, but simply just doesn't have the technique to be able to actually like cover any of these guys, which would be the case for like every other team that the U.S. would play. Like you're telling me some like engineer from Austria who just happens to play flag football is covering Jamar Chase on a go. There's just no way.
In another life, Speed is an
all-pro corner. He's an all-pro corner.
That is locking up your team's best receiver. But no, he's actually like crazy athletic. Yeah. No, it'll be fun. 2028 Olympics are. I love the Summer Olympics. It'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, we're still doing the show by then, and we can break it down for you. But I guess that's about it. That's everything we have on the rundown. I mean, another 2-hour banger show. Man, I was just thinking about this. I don't know how we used to do the 1 hour. It wasn't even 1 hour. It was like 54.
It was like 57 minutes.
Yeah,
and we would like.
And with breaks, we'd have one The one song break.
we would just cram information. It was like just 20-second take, and you got to move on.
And there was a lot of like me going like, hey, we got
Yeah,
a
a
break.
speed
lot
it
of
up.
lot of lot of lot of
A lot
this.
of this. I don't know how we fit it all into like 54 minutes. I wonder what like, I know we went like what 220 that one time. I wonder if we'll ever. I wonder what's the longest like we could go with still being not coherent, but like entertaining.
I feel like maybe would be like if we did like a draft special where we're just giving our live like
Yeah.
breakdown of the NFL
Oh,
draft would probably
Like
be
some
the
sort of
closest.
watch along, but with a watch along there
Yeah.
is expected to be some silence. But I'm talking about this format where we're talking the whole time. So it'd have to be some sort of like have to be a
I would
very
have to
busy
take
day.
like I'd have to take like a break at some point. Like all this talking, like I'm thirsty right now. As soon as
I'm
we're done with this, I'm
so
drinking a
tired.
glass of water.
I haven't. Oh, Aiden cut out. Oh, Aiden said I'm done. He said 2 hour mark hit. I've had
Well,
enough.
now you know. That's how long he
Yeah.
can last.
2 hours is solid, Aiden. We'll take it. But no, I think like yeah. But by this point, I'm pretty exhausted. I still got some homework to turn in. I gotta write like a little. It won't take that long. But that's about all we have for y'all today. And I guess Aiden had more than enough today. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Whether you listen for a minute or 2 hours. He said, wait, you sent a text. Laptop died. Thought I had a bit more battery. Oh, bad beat. But thank you all so much for listening in. And